Hey guys, it's Ashley and welcome back to another reading vlog. I should be starting my reading vlog for the Son of Neptune, which that will happen, but this is not that. Today we are going to actually be reading Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. And the reason why I decided to make this the book that I'm reading in this reading vlog rather than the Son of Neptune today is because when I posted in my summer reading TBR that I wanted to read this book this summer, so many of you said that you really love this book, or that you're reading it too, or that you just are so excited to hear what I think, and I'm like, okay, all right, I guess I should vlog this and share my experience. So today, I'm going to be starting Warbreaker. I do work today at 4 p.m. and right now it is 12:45. So I think I'm gonna read a little bit and then maybe work on some writing. But like I said in that other video with my summer TBR, the only things that I know about this book, other than that it's apparently really good and a standalone based on what you guys have said, is that it follows multiple characters, so it's multi-POV, and some of the characters are apparently like some of your favorite characters ever, so that makes me super excited. And also it's got this like weird new magic system called biochromatic magic based on breath, and also has something to do with color. So it sounds really interesting and really unique, and I'm really excited to read it, and I will share with you what I think when I start it. But right now my camera's dying, so this seems like a good time to charge, start reading, and I'll update you later. Okay, so it's a little bit past 11:30 right now, and I did 2 out of the 3 things that I said I was going to do earlier. I went to work, and I started Warbreaker. I did not write, but at least I started this book. That is good enough for me. I'm kind of like surprised and also not surprised by how much I'm liking this so far. I'm reading this book and I'm immediately thrown back into his sort of world building when it came to Mistborn. For some reason they're just so similar, probably because his writing style and things are super similar in that vein, but this story is so completely different. Like the magic system, I'm still so confused by, but it's so fun to get to know what is happening in this story. Like the whole biochromatic system, and then also with like the gods who have returned, and then the way that breath works. At some point while I'm reading this book, I know that it will all make sense. It just doesn't make sense now. I have to say, I think my favorite point of view so far is a character named Vasher, who I know absolutely nothing about other than that he has a lot of breath, is what it's called, and also he has a sword that talks. He's giving me like major Kelsier vibes in a way. If you've read Mistborn and you know what I'm talking about, then hopefully you understand. Kind of a point of view that's coming into the story, and he, you know, knows everything. He's acclimated to this world. He, you know, knows about his magic and knows how he can use it and stuff, just like Kelsier was. And we're kind of learning while we're watching him interact with the world, just like Kelsier. So like, obviously this is not like, you know, a crazy unique thing that people do. Like this is a very common thing in books, but just the fact that he reminds me so much of Kelsier, just the way that he's introduced and stuff, I'm here for it. Yeah, so he's my favorite so far, and then we've got the 2 sisters, Ciri and I already forgot the other one's name. It started with a V. Their stories are really interesting. I haven't read a whole lot of them yet, so I'm eager to read more and find out more about these characters. I don't even know. This world is, again, very confusing to me, but I'm only like 60, 70 pages in, so obviously I'm going to learn more as we go on, but it's very odd. There's like this impending war between the gods who now rule this city slash country slash kingdom, I'm not really sure what it is, and then also there are like these rebels who are in a place called Idris, which always makes me think of Shadowhunters, no matter how many times I try to get that association out of my head. Yeah, so there's these rebels in this place called Idris, and they are like the true monarchy in this world, and then like there's like this war. I don't really know. Oh, also Light Song. I totally forgot to mention him. He is the other point of view that we follow, or at least one of the others. I'm not sure if I've gotten to them all yet, but yeah, Light Song is one of the like lesser gods. He's like a very new god, or he just recently returns with a capital R, but I really like him. He brings a bit of comedic relief and brevity to the story that I enjoy, because so far it's pretty dark. Yeah, so far I'm enjoying it, but like I said, I'm not very far through yet, so I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea where we're at, what's going on. Like, I'm just slowly, you know, easing myself into this crazy new fantasy world while trying to make sense of it, because so much has already been shared with us about the magic system, and I am trying so hard to like grasp onto the pieces as they come to me, but there's so much that it's just kind of slipping away from my fingers, and I'm just doing my best to understand. There's only so much information that a tired brain can take in at once. And I feel like I've hit my limit. I feel like I'm still very much in the introductory portion of the book. Like, it's called Warbreaker. So is this book about the war? Like, is that the plot of this book? I'm confused. Okay, I'm doing this clip in my sister's room because her room has the better natural light right now, so ignore the background. But I wanted to come on and update you guys on Warbreaker because last night I read a good chunk of it. I am now on page 178, chapter 17. Things are heating up and characters are beginning to like collide with one another, if that makes sense. First things first, I'm starting to really like the princesses chapters, Ciri and Viviana, which is her name, which I remember now. I'm starting to really like their chapters. I like how different they are as characters, like basically polar opposites and like foils to one another in a sense. Yeah, so seeing them thrown into different situations where they have completely differing viewpoints is so funny to me. Like, there are chapters where, you know, Ciri's chapter will end with, well, I guess, you know, Halendren wasn't as terrible as everybody made it out to be. And then Viviana's chapter will start right afterward and it'll be like, Halendren is worse than everyone said that it would be. Also, Lightsong's chapters, who is the lesser god, he's like the young god who like is really, he's really funny to be honest, but he's funny in that way that kind of makes you annoyed by his humor. Like, there are times when I'm reading and I'm like, that was kind of clever, I liked that. But then there are other times that I'm reading that I'm like, that was unnecessary, and I feel like you were just trying to put yourself out there as the funny guy, you know? Like I feel like in high school there was always that one kid who would always like make jokes constantly just so that everybody would think that he was the funny guy, and I feel like that's Lightsong. But I do enjoy his chapters because I feel like they are a bit more lighthearted than the other ones so far, so not complaining. I also really like the mercenaries. I know that that was like supposed to be a funny, you know, moment in the book, and I hope that they kind of stick around a little bit longer, but the mercenaries, what are their names? Denth and Tonks Fa or something like that. I don't know, they're really funny. I like how they're like, you know, nobody asks for a mercenary's opinion, but I can tell that I'm starting to get into a part of the book that is going to be more focused, and there's going to be more like discourse on religion and theology and that sort of thing, because these gods, these returns, right, they, you know, are the religion. There are like priests who do this stuff, and I don't really know, but like there's religion and theology has like a lot to do with the story, so I can tell that we're going to get into more of a conversation about that, which I'm kind of excited for, just to see like where it goes in this story, because I was never really raised around religion, so anything regarding religion always has kind of like fascinated me. And yeah, I'm just kind of eager to see where the story is going to go from here, because I just want to know what the sisters are going to be doing. I want to know what Viviana is planning. Like, I know what she's planning, but I want to know how she's going to go through with it, because very out of her depths and out of her comfort zone, even though she has been trained her whole life for this. So I'm excited. And also I want to know what Vasher's whole like point in the story is, because we got 2 chapters from him early on and I haven't seen another chapter from him since, so kind of eager for what's going to happen. We did get a glimpse of him in a Viviana chapter, so I'm like, what is he planning? The story is like not at all what I thought it was going to be. I don't honestly know what I was expecting, but it was not this. I'm kind of in some scenes getting like really weird like Handmaid's Tale vibes, which is honestly creeping me out. Hi, how's it going? Hi. Hi. Right, we'll angle like that. Oh, you don't smell good. Anyway, yeah, certain scenes are giving me Handmaid's Tale vibes. I'm not here for it. I did not like the Handmaid's Tale, the book. It scared me and it freaked me out too much because of various things if you have not read the book. Like, I get it. I understand what it was trying to say, and like, I think it was just that it seemed so creepily realistic in a way that I did not like it. So it scared me. This book is kind of sort of almost doing a similar thing to me, so I don't know. I just want to know where it's gonna go from here. What do you think about the book, Maverick? Why do you look so sad? I asked you a question! Okay guys, so I think we're getting somewhere with this book, and I'm liking it so far. Like, I mean, I liked it before, but I'm like really liking it now to the point where like I want to keep reading, which is always the best part about reading. Not sure what page I'm on, but I'm nearing midway through right now, and there were some things that happened that I was not expecting. I like the direction that it's going in, specifically when it comes to like the God King and stuff like that. I'm trying not to spoil anything in this vlog so that everybody can watch it, but if you know what I'm talking about, you can like leave a comment down below, or I'll probably talk about it more later. But yeah, I'm liking so far like the turn that the story has taken in regards to him and what's happening. I was definitely not expecting it, and I'm definitely like really eager to find out what is actually happening in this world that nobody knows about or that's being kept from everybody, you know? And I still really love Siri. I just have this like really bad feeling that she is being a little too naive. She's in one of those moments right now where it's like she's doing something secret that she enjoys, that she thinks is going to be like a ha ha ha, you thought you had me kind of thing. But I just have a feeling that it's not gonna turn out well. I don't know. Maybe that's just my mindset going into these, you know, dark fantasy stories where nothing ends up going well, but it's just my fear right now. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that it doesn't happen, but we'll see, obviously. But the whole thing with the priests and Bluefingers and the gods and the returned and whatnot, it's all very, it's still confusing to me. I'm still confused as to what the goals are here, because everything is being kept secret, you know? Like the priest goals are being kept secret. The returned, you know, I don't even think they have any goals really, but some of them do, some of them are conniving and some of them aren't, I don't even know. And then you have Vasher, who like we get a point of view from every now and then, who I am still so confused about, and there's just so much that we don't know that's really frustrating me, because I just want to know. I just want to know what's gonna happen. I'm really liking Viviana more than I thought that I was going to, surprisingly. I don't know whether I like her or Siri more, or whether they're just kind of like on an equal playing field for me, but I really, really like her and how like flawed as a character she is, because there are moments when, you know, things are going right and she's like, yeah, we got this, and then she realizes, you know, oh, I wish that I was, you know, here, but then she's like, oh, but I'm acting like a stubborn, spoiled child if I say that, blah, blah, blah. So like there are things that she wishes that are kind of selfish, you know, but she still wants to get her sister out. She wants to, you know, do all of the things that she wants to do. I don't know. I really like her and her character. Maybe that'll change, you know, midway through the book, and I'll be like, darn that Viviana, I hate her for making me like her. But at this point, it hasn't gotten there yet, so we're good. The magic system is still like super interesting and odd to me. I have never read anything like this, which is really funny because every time I look at the cover of this book, it literally says on the front, magic as you have never seen it before, which is definitely true in my case. I've never seen a magic system like this. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if I've actually like explained it to anybody who hasn't read this book yet, but if you're thinking about reading this book and you're not sure if you want to, the magic system is so strange but so cool. So it's like everybody is born with a breath. Some people can accumulate breath and have like more breath, and then they can, you know, awaken objects or dead bodies, and by giving them a breath or a number of breaths as well as a command, and also it has to draw like color from somewhere. So that's why everything in Helendron is like super, super bright and colorful, because they like, you know, they like the magic and the breath and whatnot. Yeah, so like they can basically awaken like dead bodies and give them commands, and they can have like an army of dead bodies, which there is an army of dead bodies in this book, and they're called lifeless, and there's just so much that goes on in this story. And then in addition to that, based on like the number of breath that you have, you can reach different heightenings that give you different sort of abilities in a way. To me, with the magic system, everything makes sense except for the part with the color. I think I'm just stuck on the why. Like, why do you need color in order to give life to something? I'm sure that I'll find this out by the end of the book, but right now I'm just like, you know, I get the whole command thing, because you gotta command what you're bringing back to life or awakening, and then I get the whole using the breath thing to give it life, but what is the color used for? I'm confused. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep reading. We're gonna see what happens and see if any of the things that I just don't get are gonna be cleared up by the next time I talk to you, because there is quite a laundry list full of them, and I'm hoping that we get at least some answers soon. I don't know if I care for this angle, but we're gonna try it. I am more than halfway through the book. I am on page 385, and I feel like it's going so much faster now that I'm getting into more scenes with dialogue and more scenes that I'm really excited about and like eager to know what's gonna happen, you know? I feel like every time I have an idea of like what is happening, a new, you know, story is introduced, or a new history, or a new, you know, something is introduced, and I'm just like, okay, what the hell is going on now? Like, there was a scene where two characters were finally interacting, and I was like, oh yay, we're gonna get some answers, but instead we got like this long-winded history of the world and the gods and stuff like that, and now I'm just even more confused than when I started the scene. So that's fun. But regardless of all of that, I am really enjoying the book so far. I think, like I said in the last clip, I do really like all of the characters so far. I don't find that there is a scene where I'm left bored or left wanting to get to the next character scene, other than maybe like Siri, because I really like her. Yeah, and I really want to know who Lightsong was in his past life, because all of the returned gods, you know, returned from somewhere. They used to be people and they had a very like noble death or whatever, and then they returned as gods. So it's like, I want to know who he was in his past life. Like, that's where my head is at right now. My head is like, okay, I want to know like what's going on with gods, the priests, and the history and stuff like that, but I also want to know who the heck was Lightsong? I really like him. I feel bad for calling him the annoying kid in school last time I talked to you. I really do like him. I think he's funny, and I think that he means well, and he really wants to do well by the people and everything, but he's kind of like, I don't know, put down a little bit by the way that, you know, everybody's so superficial, and he's supposed to be superficial, and he's supposed to be like God, so he kind of puts on that show while silently wishing that he could be something else, if that makes sense. I also want to know what the history between Denth and Vasher is, and like Denth's mercenary crew and Vasher, because there's clearly there's clearly something happening, and I also want to know like who Denth is. Like, what? I just, so many things. I do have a theory or two, but I'm not gonna share them just yet, just in case they're like too far-fetched, you know? So I'm gonna wait and make sure that they're not super far-fetched before I go and share them. But it does have to do with Lightsong. So maybe I'm right, I'm probably wrong. We'll find out eventually. There was a conversation though that I really liked between the God King and Siri. I really like how in-depth this is going into religion and theology and stuff like that, even though this is like a completely made up religion and everything like that. I find it really interesting, especially when, you know, somebody who like believes in the Halendrin returned gods, whatnot, and then somebody who believes in like the Idrian, you know, theology and whatnot, austere, whatever you want to call it, when they start having conversations with one another. I found that really interesting, and it's also one of the reasons that I don't really like Viviana. Like, I love her as a character. I think that she's really cool and interesting and flawed as a character, but that's one of her flaws that I like don't really like, is that she's very naive, and she's also very like stubborn. Like, she is set in her ways, and she does not understand how other people can believe the things that they believe, and like, you know, believe in the things that they believe, and she's willing to judge everybody based off of that, and she's willing to be like, you know, my way is the right way, and it's my way or the highway, bitch, you know? So yeah, something that I don't really like about her, and that I do like about Siri, is that Siri is willing to like, you know, understand and be like, you know, yeah, we believe in different things, it's whatever. I'm gonna keep reading and see if any of my theories are starting to come to light, so I can come on here and be like, I told you so, I thought of it first. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna keep reading, see what happens. Talk to you guys later. So my room is kind of a mess behind me. We're just gonna ignore that, and instead we're going to talk about the fact that I somehow managed to finish this book last night. That happened. I was literally like a little bit more than halfway done, I think, the last time that I talked to you guys, and I just flew through the last half of the book last night. It got so good, and as soon as you got to what I think was like the third act of the book, where like, you know, things were ramping up and we were getting to the climax and stuff like that, it just got so exciting, and like I needed to know what was going to happen, and so I just flew through it and I read it, and I had like maybe 30-ish pages this morning to finish, and I just did, and oh my goodness. First thing I want to say is I was totally off course in any and all of my predictions. I'm not even gonna bother to share them with you because I have no idea what I was thinking, where I was going. Basically, the story went in a completely different direction that I actually really liked over what I had thought was going to happen, so I'm just not even gonna share with you what I thought. It's not worth it. I have to say that my favorite character in this whole book is probably Vivenna, which I realize her name's not Viviana, it's just Vivenna. It's weird. I'm probably gonna continue to call her Viviana because it sounds better. But yeah, she's my favorite. I really liked her. I thought that she had a really great like character arc and development throughout the story, and where she ended up in the end I really, really liked. And I wish this wasn't a standalone because I want to read more. There were so many like plot twists and things. There's one thing that I have to give to Brandon Sanderson. I've only read the Mistborn trilogy and now Warbreaker. And the one thing that I have to say is he has a way of writing that introduces so many questions, right? And the entire time you're reading, you don't get like any clues, any answers whatsoever. It's just a constant string of confusion up until the very, very end when all of a sudden the puzzle pieces start fitting together and you're like, what is happening? Literally nowhere in this entire book did I suspect that any of what happened at the end was going to happen. Like, it's real crazy. And the same thing happened with Mistborn. There were so many questions that I had about how things worked and like what the meaning behind them was and stuff like that. And they didn't get answered until the very, very end, the very last book. And I was just like, what in the world? I'm gonna go into just a couple of spoilers now. So I'll go ahead and put a picture of the book cover in this corner down here. And when it goes away, those of you who don't want to be spoiled can, you know, unmute, whatnot. Just, I'll put it down here while I'm talking about spoilers. I want to say that I really liked Nightblood. I don't know what it is about like sassy, you know, inanimate objects who can talk that, you know, are very full of themselves and like to cause general havoc. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I've read so many stories that involve that, but I really, really liked Nightblood. I also did not expect that Vasher and Denth and whatnot were the 5 original like scholars or whatever. I didn't actually suspect that at all until I want to say like closer to when it started getting revealed at the end, when, you know, he mentioned something about like Shashara or something, and I was like, wait a second, why does this name sound familiar? And then I put 2 and 2 together. Yeah, I honestly don't think that I would have thought anything of Vasher or Denth, to be completely honest with you, if I had not read the back of this book where it says Warbreaker is the story of 2 sisters, the God King one of them has to marry a lesser god, and an immortal trying to undo the mistakes he made hundreds of years ago. If I hadn't read that part of the synopsis on the back of this book, I would not have guessed that that was Vasher. I truly did not know. And for a minute in the book, I thought that that was referring to Denth, not Vasher, but then I had to continue to think and be like, no, we're following Vasher's point of view, not Denth, so this wouldn't be referring to Denth, it would be referring to Vasher. So what do they have to do with one another? And it was just this constant question that I was asking myself in my head the entire time until the very end. And then we got the answer. Ciri and the God King, I really liked their relationship. I thought that it was really cute. I love that she taught him how to read and write, and that, you know, they worked through problems, and I feel like they were just kind of like on the sidelines of everything happening until the very end when like they actually had a purpose. But I feel like everything was kind of happening to them rather than them doing anything until the very end. But I still love Ciri. I love that she went from, you know, enjoying her unimportant life to wanting to make a difference and wanting to find her place and to be that strong-willed, you know, queen that she was, you know, thrust into the position of, you know what I mean? I really like her, and I already said that I love Viviana. I think that they both went down such a different path. I love it. And then last but not least, we have Lightsong. Lightsong's story was really interesting to me. The entire time, I really was like thinking, trying to figure out who he was, you know, like he had to be somebody important, he had to be somebody that we would have known, he had, you know, all of this stuff. And then we get to the end when he's like, you know, struggling to figure out who he is, and his priest, Larimar, or whatever his name is, was like, you were a scribe! You were nobody important! You were just a stupid scribe! And I'm like, wow, it's so anticlimactic. Oh my god. I was really out here thinking that he was gonna be somebody super important, that like in his past life he was like some character that we had already known or heard of or something like that, but no. Nope, he was just a simple little scribe who sacrificed himself to save his brother's daughter. Which, like, sweet, and like, you know, yes, I can understand why he came back as like Lightsong the Bold and the brave and courageous and whatnot, but still, kind of anticlimactic. But the way that he sacrificed himself again for, you know, the sake of somebody else, I thought that was a really nice way to end his story, and I still really appreciate him for giving me some comedic relief throughout this entire thing. And then the last thing that I want to say spoiler-wise, there was a scene around page like 500, I had to mark it off because I needed to bring this up, where Vasher was explaining the magic system to Viviana, and I just cannot. It was like midnight when I was reading this, and I just had to read this paragraph like 6 or 7 times. I swear to God, 6 or 7 times to try to understand what in the world this guy was talking about. He was explaining the theory of biochroma to her, and it was just going right over my head every single time I read this. Listen to this. I'm sure if you're already watching this, then you know that this was a thing, so I don't know why I'm reading this, but I want to read this. You're more interested in type 2 and type 3 entities. Type 2 being mindless manifestations in a diseased host. They are cheap to make even with awkward commands. This is per the law of biochromatic parallelism. The closer a host is to a living shape and form, the easier it is to awaken. Biochroma is the power of life, and so it seeks patterns of life. That, however, leads us to another law, the law of comparability. It states that the amount of breath required to awaken something isn't necessarily indicative of its power once awakened. A piece of cloth cut into a square and a piece of cloth cut into the shape of a person will take very different amounts of breath to awaken, but will essentially be the same once they have been invested. Somebody tell me why he had to write it like that. Oh wait, and I totally forgot to mention the fact that Denth and Tonks Fa were just messing with Viviana the entire time. Like, excuse me? I really believed that they were there to help. Like, I really believed that they were good guys. And then we get to the part where she finds Parlin or whatever his name was, and they've killed him, and she finds the animal strung up on the wall, and I'm just like, oh no. Oh no, what have we done? What is happening right now? So, long story short, I thoroughly enjoyed my time reading this book, even though we got off to a bit of a rocky start because the magic system was so hard to understand for me at first. But once I got the hang of it, I got into the story, and of course, like I said, once we got into more of like the, you know, dialogue scenes rather than just like the exposition of explaining this world and the history and the magic system, it became a lot more interesting and a lot more fast-paced. So, definitely love my time reading this. I'm not sure what I would rate it. I have to think on it, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. What should my next foray into adult fantasy be? Should I read another Brandon Sanderson story, or should I try like The Name of the Wind, or should I try something else? Let a girl know. I'm really like out of the loop when it comes to adult fantasy, so I would love to know what you would recommend. But I think that's gonna be it. I don't think there's anything more that I wanted to say about this book. So, with that being said, if you want to follow me on any of my socials, all my handles are in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching and being here, and I'll catch you later. Bye!